Hello ladies, welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be working on a bead that I would like to give it the texture of porcelain. Um, Before I continue, I would like to ask you if you really like this video to press like, and also at the same time you can subscribe to my channel because it gives me a little bit of more exposure out there whenever I do different types of crafting. Now today I'm gearing this video more towards a group that I am an admin, which is anything and everything Christian swap group, with Margie Mellon and myself, and we have about 190 members. So if you'd like to join us there and do some swaps or visit us, you're more than welcome to. But going on with my bead, here I have a paper series from StampinUP. I believe this is the poppy flowers. It came out, I think it was last year, I'm not really sure. I've had it for quite some time and I just love both sides of it. And today I'm going to be making a cylindrical bead of paper, and I'm going to be adding eyelets, which I also have from StampinUP, and then I'm going to be sealing it with UV resin so I can give it that porcelain shiny look. I also have a timer on my desk. I have made other beads that I'm in the process of doing another video, and what I've used to seal each one of them. That's why they have numbers. But I wanted to go ahead and do this one. So far, this one is ready for the UV resin. I've already done it, but let me show you how I do begin. First of all, you want to have paper that is a little bit flexible, and if it's not flexible, you may want to work your cardstock a little bit, and by that I'm going to show you in a second. You see this one that's curled up on the side. I'm going to start cutting this at an inch. I had made a white mark with my Posca pen, so I have the right measurement. This measures in lengthwise is 6 inches. I had already cut it 6 by 6. So I cut two pieces. Sometimes my eyes aren't really that straight, but um, I cut two of them. I don't know how many I'm going to need. Here I had rolled the same paper series, but I had done the back of it, and I did put two eyelets in pink. But I'm going to go ahead and start rolling this one so you can get an idea. I'm not going to need my cutter anymore. Since I'm making a cylindrical bead, it really doesn't matter. Just as long as everything is an inch, and this is 6 inches, and I'm gonna work a little bit the fabric, or the paper, and I try to make it as flexible as possible. I have a piece of skew here that I'm going to be using, and making these cylindrical beads, they're really easy. I start mainly by placing it against the skew, and I sort of kind of like just roll it. I have this one. You can also use, I guess it's a knitting needle. I think it's 5 millimeters. As you can see, I didn't add any glue, and I'm just working my bead as tight as possible and keeping my edges here and here very close to each other, and making sure that as I'm rolling it, I am not losing my shape, or that it's all exactly the same on both sides. When you're making beads, you can use multiple things. I have this one that is probably the size of the knitting needle, but you know, I don't knit, and I got rid of all my needles when I did. So right now, this is like, I've been saving this for quite some time. You also notice that I did not add any glue. Sorry for the fire trucks. I live right next to a firehouse. Well, it's just down the street, and uh, they're constantly going out. I live in this city. Okay, as you can see, I've rolled my bead on both ends. It's pretty uniform, and I've come to this end right here. I'm gonna go ahead, and my choice of glue is glitter glue. You could use Elmer's glue, you could use a glue stick. Uh, the choice is yours. I prefer to use a little bit of the glitter glue because I just like the way it stays. And I broke my little pin, and I went ahead and I did a dangle so that way I can find it all the time. Just did a loopy loop and ready to go. Okay, so I'm gonna finish rolling this, and one of the things, I've rolled it, I added the glue, I'm making sure that both ends are, where they need to be. I'm gonna hold it for a second, and I like using different kinds of paper, and depending on your choice of paper or how do you cut your paper for your beads, it can give it a really nice design. But this one being a cylindrical one, I just want to make sure that it's just round. So like I said, just a few seconds, and you want to make sure that you don't make it as tight as I did, because then you'll have a little bit of hard time removing your bead from your skew. However, what I want to measure is, and I'm not going to take it out completely, I want to make sure that I'm using, you can use a flat eyelet. This one is in the shape of a flower because it's what I had available. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to try to press it against here, because what I'm trying to see is whether I have enough cardstock there. Oops. And I've pressed it. And as you can see, I still have a little border. So that means that I need more cardstock, because I want to make sure that it's up to the edge. So I'm going to remove my eyelet. I'm going to go right back to the area where I put the last, where I glued the last piece of paper. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make sure that I am using the right side. When you're using double-sided paper, you have to make sure that you match it up depending on the kind of bead that you are making. Now, like I said, I cut this. It's 1 inch across and it's 6 inches long. I cut 2 pieces only because I wanted to make sure that I was going to have enough, and since I wasn't sure, I didn't measure it, to go ahead and put in my eyelet. What I've done here is I added a little glue on the other side. I did not overlap it. I just went ahead and I put it right exactly where I had glued and ended my bead. This is going to be covered, so it really doesn't matter whether it matches. I am going to push my skew back out, and you can work this 2 ways. You can either do it this way and just keep rolling the paper and your thumb on it and making sure that everything is matching and that you're not creating any wedges anywhere, or you can roll it towards you, pressing against your index finger, so then that way you know that your bead is tight enough. and you're rolling with this one and you're pressing with your index finger, as I am, and I have my thumb on top. And I am going to only roll it, as you can see, because there isn't any glue. I'm not gluing it. It could become unraveled if I let it go. So I'm just going to roll it a little bit more, and what I want to do is I'm going to press my thumb against that, and I'm going to bring the skew down a little bit where it's not visible, because I want to test my eyelet and make sure that my paper is not gonna go outside the eyelet and it fits tightly. And as you can see, it looks like I have a good fit. I don't have any extra here. So with that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna snip this little extra paper that I have here. Let me put my eyelet there. I'm just going to bring it back down to the skew, and I'm going to go ahead and cut it as close as possible. And now I'm going to make sure that I am going to add glue to that end. The only thing about the glitter glue is you cannot keep it uncovered for a long period of time. But you could use Elmer's glue, or you could use tacky glue. Tacky glue gives you a little bit of time to wiggle and work with your project before it sets. Okay, so now I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to press my bead, the paper at the end of the bead. Everything seems to be very cylindrical on both ends, and that's important. Let me move my scissors out of the way here, and while I am holding it, I'm just making sure that I'm adding the right pressure and that nothing is unraveled. The glitter glue dries fairly fast, so my bead is ready to come off my skew of paper. This one seems to be smaller, which is fine. I'm going to be using this skew to paint it, because once I removed it and I added my eyelet, I'm not going to be able to fit it back into this one. So I held it. Another thing, because your bead doesn't have any glue, what you could do is, before you glue it, like before I did the other section, you can go ahead and tap it down. Make sure that everything here is very cylindrical, because you want to be able to fit your eyelet in there. Now, you can use Elmer's glue, you could use tacky glue, you could use also, I guess it's a craft glaze. I like to use a craft glaze. It doesn't really matter. You could use any kind of glue. And what I'm going to do is, in the inside of this, I am going to drop a little bit of the glaze, and with the nozzle of the glaze bottle, the only problem with the glaze is that it needs more drying time. I made sure that I did my little cylindrical circle with the tip. I like to make sure that my bottle doesn't have any bubbles, and I close it right away. And now I'm going to place my eyelet inside the hole. Let me make sure that I have all these little skews and things, and I make sure that my glaze is all around where the little shaft of this eyelet is going to be. And then I make sure that in the inside, it's going through. And I press it firmly to make sure that it's not going to go anywhere. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. I have my eyelet ready. I'm going to drop a little bit of glaze around the edge. I am going to use the nozzle of my glaze, but you can use any kind of glue. I'm going to tap it. I'm going to squeeze it a little if you're using glaze. And I'm going to go ahead and put my eyelet into place. You know, it's all the same size, so you may have to press it a little to bring it down. And it's ready to go. My bead is sealed. My eyelets are on both sides, and now, you know, they don't really go on the outside that much. It's the shape of a flower. It's best for you to use a circular eyelet like I have here. But this is what I had in hand, accessible at the moment, and I went with it. So I'm done with using my little tools. And I have this one that is ready to be glazed with the UV resin, and I'm gonna make sure that I put on, let me see, my timer. It doesn't seem to be working. I don't remember leaving it on. This happens sometimes. Okay, I'm gonna lay my glue down. It looks like I must have left it on and the battery died. Which is normal for me. But, you know, you're going to be using your UV resin to harden 2 to 3 minutes. So, I'm going to start with this one. It is kind of loose in here. I have my table protected. It's good to use gloves with this, especially when you're using resin. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to, because I may have to touch it to keep it steady, I'm going to go ahead and put on a pair of gloves, and I'm going to open my resin bottle, make sure that it's open, and this is a new resin, of course. I like this one because it comes with a cap that you can close. Of course, you know, it's kind of hard for me to lift it. I should have done this before. And I also have my little torch. I'm sorry, ladies. Okay, so I'm gonna remove my protective cap, and I'm gonna go ahead and put my spout back on. I'm gonna take my previously done cylindrical bead. I have pink eyelets in shape of a flower there, not that it really matters. And I'm gonna go ahead. I have my flashlight, my UV light flashlight ready, and I'm gonna go ahead and I'm going to start putting the UV resin on the top of the bead, and I'm making sure, you know, that I'm not releasing big globs of it, but I'm making sure that with my finger I'm sort of kind of like moving it around a little. Let me see, I don't want to put a lot. I suffer from shakes. Also, if you want to move your resin around and you don't want it to be sitting and become bulky in an area, you want to keep moving your bead on the skew or wherever you have placed it to be made, and then that way you can go ahead and spread your UV resin evenly. Now, I got a little bit ahead of myself and I did put the eyelet, but you can also go ahead and seal your paper before you put the resin in the inside of the bead. Right now, I want to make sure that I have resin everywhere where I need it, and I have a spot here that it doesn't have any resin. And I'm also going to make sure that there aren't any bubbles. And I'm going to move this around a little, and I see an area here that I do not have resin. So I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit of resin there. I'm going to go ahead and put my cover on it, and I'm going to be moving it around in a circular motion, so if there's any extra resin there, it can be evenly distributed. And I tap it a little because sometimes that helps to fill in those gaps. And I'm just twirling it. You have time to work with your UV resin, and the one thing that that I want to let you know is that when you're working with resin, your paper is this light, and look how dark my paper has gotten, but I can still see the beauty of the paper, and I see a little gap here. I can do one of two things. I can try to smooth it a little. I get quiet when I'm doing something, and I want to make sure that all my areas are covered. UV resin is very forgiving until you cure it. Okay, it looks like that little area that didn't have any resin seems to be covered. I am going to apply a little bit more because I wanted to give it like a porcelain look when I seal it. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna add more resin on this area and over here, and especially on this seal here. And of course I'm twirling it, and at the same time I'm making sure that my bottle of resin is tightly closed, and I'm moving it around to make sure that I have enough resin to give it that porcelain look that I am looking for. If you have any bubbles, you may want to tap your skew because that helps bring out the bubbles. I'm working on a bubbly surface, not a flat surface. I just wanted to cover my table and do this video really quick, but you know, whatever works for you. I'm making sure that it is all covered, that I have all my areas covered with resin, and it looks like on this end I need a little bit of more resin because I really want to give it that porcelain seal look. So I'm going real close to the eyelet, but without overwhelming it or going over, because once I seal this with the UV light, there's no coming back, and I want to make sure that I have resin where I need it to be. I'm tapping it. I could tap it the other way, but I don't have a smooth surface. I decided to use bubble wrap, and not the right choice. So I'm making sure that I am not getting any little bellies on my bead, and that everything is absolutely covered. You know, when you're working with resin, you have to be really, really patient uh, of what you're doing, because this is not a 1, 2, 3. And by all means, I'm the most impatient person. I work on a project and I want to see it done like right away. So I'm just going around with my bead, and I want to tap it on this end because I want some of that excess resin to come to this end. And you could do that by tapping it a little, you know. Um, I'm just making sure that it's everywhere I need it to be, because I want to give it that porcelain look. And it looks pretty even, so of course you have to. I have this little one corner that the resin doesn't want to go there. Maybe I could move some of this resin to the other side by tapping it on this end. If there's another way that you ladies think you can do this, by all means, you know, make comments, write comments. You can gear me to your webpage if you've done this before. I did look on YouTube for different videos before I did this one, and this seems to be working just perfectly for me. So I'm gonna close this. I'm gonna keep on moving this because I can see there is a bubble here that I probably can get rid of. Try, since I haven't used the UV light yet, I'm still in time to fix whatever I need to fix. So, and maybe get rid of the excess resin by just brushing it a little bit. I don't know how this is going to turn out. This is the first time I'm doing this bead. So, and I figure, hey, trial, it could work, it could be a fail, but let's see what I come up with. Okay, so I've made sure I have resin everywhere, and I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna place that on there, and I'm gonna, without a timer, I am going to use my UV light and my flashlight, and I'm gonna go ahead and I'm going to be turning it as like if you were roasting a chicken. I'm going to be turning it around in the skew and trying to dry my resin, my UV resin on my bead. I had watched a video before, and the lady gave her bead 2 coats. This, of course, is my first coat. So once I think it's dry, that I know for sure is dry, I may just give it another coat. I can see there's a little lifting right there on that side right there. But, you know, I don't want to keep you here for the 2 minutes. But unfortunately, I'm using both of my hands and I can't pause the computer right now or the video. So I'm just gonna keep on twirling this, and maybe if I can figure out how to edit my video, I will fast forward it so you ladies won't have to sit around and wait. And of course the curing time could be 2 to 4 minutes. I'm using the UV light flashlight because since this is a small project, there was no need for me to take out my little machine, my light that I use. the other one for the nails or for these UV projects. So I'm just twirling it, and I may need a second coat. I don't know. Again, it's always safe. I mean, I have a glove on the hand that I'm holding the flashlight and not in the other. Oh, I have a tendency to do that. But, you know, as long as you don't get the resin on you, you don't have to worry. I don't smell anything. They do recommend that you wear gloves and possibly a mask. I do have protective glasses to protect my eyes, so I don't know. I'm always trying different things, and hopefully this will work. So let me, since I've been twirling it, you know, the curing time is not necessarily the same on one side alone. I'm just twirling it like if I was roasting a chicken or a pork, a piggy. Okay. So I'd love to show you what it would look like once it's done. Let me shut off the light, which is kind of bright. It looks kind of wet. I don't know yet. I'm gonna go ahead and touch this little corner and see. It looks like it's dry, but you know, I'm gonna go ahead and pause the video, and I'll come back in a second. Thank you. Okay, I'm back. It looks pretty much dry. It's nice and hard surface, but I notice that there are a couple of places here that I tried to get the resin to this corner and it just didn't happen. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna add some more resin there, and I'm gonna try to smooth it out so I can put more resin on my bead and seal it a little bit more, because I want it really glass type, like porcelain glass all together. And I'm gonna do one more round of the UV flashlight. I'm making sure that there aren't any bubbles. I've gone all the way around, and I'm gonna go ahead and tap that. Sorry. It is tightly closed, and I am going to move it around and tap it at the same time, because I want my resin to sort of kind of like move around to the different areas and not get a belly on the bead itself. So, you know, if I can bring it that it can come to the area that I want it to go to, which is that corner right there, without spilling over. And I want to make sure that it's smooth straight across. That's why you want to wear gloves. So then that way, if you have a little spill, it doesn't get on your fingers. I want to make sure you see that bubble right there. I'm going to bring it up. You may be able to see it once I twirl it. I want to make sure that that is going to come all the way to this end. So then that way I can get some resin there and get the extra out of the way that I've put on the little bead. And I want to make sure that I get some on the other side just as well. Oh man, this is looking really pretty. And that resin, it's doing exactly what I want it to do with no bubbles. and I'm just twirling it so it can disperse on the bead itself all the way around, and I am not creating a bubble. So you don't want to put big gloves, and of course tapping it does help. So I've brought it all the way around that I can see. I've sealed it, so I'm going to go ahead and do the light once more. I'm not going to make you watch, so I'm going to pause my video and I'll come back. Wow, ladies, this came out really fabulous. Look at the shine, and it's already sealed all the way around. I did get the look that I wanted. The flower over and the paper wrapped around, and it's just absolutely gorgeous. Now, this is the paper I started with. This is what it looked like, and once I put the UV resin, this is the color that I ended up with. It has absolutely no bubbles. It's very shiny and evened all the way around. It's just absolutely gorgeous. I'm going to go ahead and do the red one, which is the other side of the paper, and see what color I come up with. But this is just stunning because I can see the purples and I can see the pinks, the green and the blue background is just beautiful. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to hit like and maybe subscribe to my channel. I thank you very much, and I appreciate you ladies being here today, and gentlemen, because we never know. Be blessed. Have a wonderful day.